almost 3,000 people every year who are killed by guns, and I'm wondering if you view this as a problem, and if so, how you would address it.
You come from a part of the state where there are probably more guns than fewer. So what's the proper balance and strike? Obviously, the state is weighed in with regard to opening campus carry, but we're having a national conversation on this subject.
This is one of those things where, in order for any policy to work, there has to be local buy-in. And local buy-in, the only way that you get local buy-in is you have to ask people in each community how it is that they want to do it. I don't think this is a one-size-fits-all solution. It was brought home to me in a very painful way a couple of weeks ago when I spent some time at home walking through my high school, where a young girl had shown up to school with a gun. And luckily, as things turned out, her plans went somewhat awry. And
This is back now.
this is back in Alpine. And so, Alpine is now on the list of places, the place that I considered really the most tranquil spot on the face of the planet is now on the list of places that has had a school shooting. And the way that we did it is not with a reactionary, ban this or ban that, because bans as a general rule tend not to work, or you've got to make sure that you actually fix the problem that you have. I mean, in this instance, the guns were legally bought, they were appropriately registered. So what is it that you have to do? And I think, Alpine is still going through that conversation, but whatever happens, I will tell you that there will be local buy-in, because parents and others, just the general public at large, they have to have an investment in this policy. Otherwise, we go through that gridlock where everybody yells at everybody else, and you don't go forward at the end of the day. This is a real problem, I think, that has to be solved in a thoughtful manner going forward, and people have to sit down around the table and talk about it.
Well, there are specific things, as you know, Mr. Gallego, that have been proposed on this question, whether it's a ban on high-capacity magazines, a ban on automatic weapons, or background checks, increased background checks over what's currently in place now. You want to tell us how you feel about those things? Because obviously it may be a local issue, you're going to have to make a decision at the federal level if these things come up for a vote. Better for the people you want to represent to know how you come down on this now.
Well, again, for me, it's a question of whether or not you're solving a problem. So I'd have to look at the legislation. I will tell you that as a general rule, bans don't work. I will tell you that if you want to do background checks, then many of the weapons have been used. The person would have passed a background check. So for me, when we have these issues, the truth is that where we need to invest in time and effort and money is on the mental health issue, because there's clearly something wrong, right? There's clearly, and Congress has prohibited any research on gun violence, which I don't understand. I would want to know more information before moving forward. I want to know what are the root causes of this violence? How do we deal with it? Because I'm not a reactionary guy that just trots out there and says this is going to fix everything. I will tell you. I mean, I've taught. I'm in the process now of teaching Nicholas about guns and teaching him to respect. Again, just as the way that my dad taught me. So a lot depends on what the specific proposal
Legislative,
is.
but it sounds like this may be a place where you're not in sync with the party's orthodoxy. Sir.
Thank you, Pete. Should you be fortunate to be sent back to Congress, what would a second term look like in a Gallego district? And that kind of an aside to that is, do you feel your first first term you made any mistakes that you wouldn't repeat, and where would you put your emphasis back on Veterans Affairs, for example, or would you shift your focus? So I know that's kind of a multifaceted question. Just kind of give us your view of what the future holds.
No, thank you. I would hope to be back on armed services and agriculture. Armed services is particularly important on the bookends of the district, and in the middle where you have Del Rio with Laughlin Air Force Base. You have a huge military presence in San Antonio, a huge military presence in El Paso. I was able to do a lot for those areas from my seat on the Armed Services Committee. The Agriculture Committee was fascinating to me because while, you know, the urban areas are covered with the military stuff with San Antonio and El Paso, everybody else is rural, and rural affairs go through the Ag Committee. So that for me was a place that I felt very, very, very much at home. I would hope to focus on the kinds of things that I think are the most important, that being being a voice for the 29 counties. I'm just really proud. I get compliments all the time on our constituent service that we did. People would write to me. In fact, people in other congressional districts started writing to us because they were saying that our office developed a reputation. We hired social workers to do our constituent casework, for example. And that for me was a huge difference because we worked the case from start to finish. If the agency said, well, we can't help you, they got a call from me and I personally went over to the agency and said, why can't you? I mean, I remember meeting one of the leaders in the Social Security Administration because my staff came in to me and said there was a huge difference between DC and the state legislature. My staff came in to me and they said, the Social Security Administration said they couldn't really help us right now, but they didn't have time, but to call us back in 6 months. Call them back in 6 months. And I said, really, they told you that? And I said, well, call their governmental relations department. And my staff person says, well, that was their governmental relations department. And so I made it a point to meet the leadership of the Social Security Administration and express my displeasure. I learned a lot as I went along, and so I would definitely do more of that. And the other thing that I would do more of, frankly, is you know, one of the interesting things was people would come to me and say, you need to move your voting record further to the left because you're not voting with your party enough. You're the guy that votes with the Republicans most often. And they would tell me, well, we've been watching that district for a long time. It's been on everybody's radar screen for a long time. You can afford to move your district. You can afford to move your voting record to the left. And I would always tell people, you know, I really appreciate your opinion. Thank you so much for coming to me with your thoughts. And when you register to vote in the 23rd District of Texas, your opinion will matter a lot more. and I feel more empowered to do that now because I am much more passionate than ever about the future of our country, the choices that we have to make.
Second term Pete would not be any different than first term Pete in terms of.
I don't think in the policy areas there would be very much difference, but I will tell you that as I look at the state of our country, it's clear that we have challenges. I mean, if you look at our presidential race, it's pretty clear that this is not your standard run-of-the-mill year. And why is that? Well, I think more people need to stand up and do the right thing for the right reasons. I think we need more of that. I think we need less of the partisan bickering. I will tell you that if you ask a woman who's pregnant right now along the border, they're not wealthy enough to move to Seattle or somewhere where there aren't any mosquitoes or some, you know, I mean, they worry every single day. And you know, they worry because of a stupid amendment over the Confederate flag at military cemeteries. I mean, how stupid is that? And so, for me, that makes me even more determined to work hard in this race because common sense isn't very common, and we need something. And having been born and raised where I was and the way that I was, I think common sense is one of my attributes that served me well before, and I know it continues to serve me well.
Good. Let's end there. We'll thank Congressman Gallego for his generous